Most people think going to the bathroom every few days is just their personal normal. Maybe a little inconvenient, nothing serious. You are wrong. And that mistake is quietly destroying your body from the inside out. Right now, if you are chronically constipated, waste is sitting inside you and rotting. The toxins from that decomposition are being reabsorbed into your bloodstream hour by hour, day by day. That is not a figure of speech. That is basic gastrointestinal physiology. And here's the number that should keep you up at night. Chronic long-term constipation is one of the most scientifically documented risk factors for colorectal cancer. Not might be linked to, documented. Add to that accelerated aging, skin breakouts, sudden adult onset allergies, hair loss, and pelvic pain that doctors wave off as mysterious, and you start to see the full picture of what ignoring your bowels actually cost you. The system is not going to bring this up at your next appointment. There is no billing code for "I helped you go to the bathroom every morning." Subscribe to Dr. Waterling and hit like right now. We are building this channel one honest video at a time, working toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single one matters. I am Sam Waterling, and I have spent 15 years watching this exact problem play out in real patients. People come in embarrassed to even mention constipation. They whisper it like it is a personal failing. It is not a failing, it is a signal, a loud, urgent one. And the consequences of ignoring it are not embarrassing. They are catastrophic. Chronic inflammation spreading through the entire intestinal wall. Constant skin rashes that no dermatologist can explain. Swelling, pallor, dark circles under the eyes so deep they look bruised. Hair that becomes dry grows slowly and falls out in clumps. Nails that split and crack. And that is just what you can see. Inside the body, the situation is worse. A gut full of stagnating, rotting waste is a perfect biological environment for tumor development. That is not alarmism. That is oncology. Straining every day, repeatedly raising the pressure inside your abdominal cavity, is a direct mechanical pathway to severe hemorrhoids, to accelerating varicose veins, and to dangerous venous congestion in the pelvic region. That vascular damage threatens men and women equally. So when I say this is serious, I want you to actually feel the weight of that word. Let me start with what you need to remove from your diet immediately. No negotiations, no gradual phase out. The first thing to go is refined white flour in every single form it takes. Fresh white bread, sweet rolls, cookies, bagels, dumplings, and all pasta. Everything made with white flour catastrophically slows intestinal transit. Here is why. Take a piece of soft white bread, press the crumb in your hand, and it immediately becomes sticky and adhesive. That stickiness comes from the extremely high gluten content. And that same chemical stickiness is transferred in a very literal sense onto the delicate lining of your intestinal wall. Gluten, that is the main protein in wheat, is an extremely difficult molecule for digestive enzymes to break down, even in a healthy gut. The pancreatic enzymes that are supposed to process it have to work hard. Now, if you are a young, physically active person with a strong digestive system, your metabolism can burn through it reasonably well. But I still advise even those people not to overload their gut unnecessarily. And if you already have a tendency toward constipation, these starchy, gluten-heavy products need to go 100%. I would also strongly urge you to eliminate all commercially produced yeast bread. Industrial yeast drives powerful fermentation in the gut, and that fermentation frequently produces sharp abdominal pain, bloating, and cramping. Cut white flour today, and within the first few days you will feel your belly flatten and settle. That alone is a meaningful clinical signal that your gut is beginning to recover. Next elimination, white rice. White rice has an extremely powerful astringent effect on the bowel, meaning it binds and slows gut movement. Peristalsis is the wave-like muscular contraction that moves food through your intestines. White rice significantly slows that process. In clinical medicine, rice-based broths are used precisely when patients have loose stools or severe diarrhea. We give it to slow things down. For someone already predisposed to constipation, even a single serving of white rice can be the difference between uncomfortable and completely blocked. Now, meat. I want to be careful here because I do not want you to misread what I'm saying. Quality meat absolutely must be part of your diet. As a physician, I consider it one of the fundamental foods. It is our primary source of heme iron. That is the form of iron that is directly absorbed from food into your blood to maintain hemoglobin levels and protect against hypoxia, which means low oxygen in tissues. Meat is nutritionally irreplaceable, but it is also extremely dense protein. It demands a high-functioning intestinal tract and strong stomach acid to be properly digested. When you eat too much of it, the entire digestive system carries an exhausting load. If you are prone to constipation, eat meat in smaller quantities and always in forms that the body can process more easily. A soft ground meat patty, for example, will be digested far faster than a dense chunk of whole muscle. You simply cannot chew a piece of steak as finely as meat that has already been mechanically processed through a grinder. And if right now, today, you are in active constipation, meaning you have not been able to go to the bathroom for several days, eliminate all meat immediately. That single change will have a noticeable therapeutic effect and give your system room to breathe. Here, I need to stop and warn you as forcefully as I know how about stimulant laxatives used on a regular basis. I am talking specifically about senna. Senna extract from the leaves of the senna plant is in an enormous number of popular over-the-counter constipation products sold at every pharmacy. When you pick up a laxative, read the label. If senna is in the ingredients, put it back. Many patients get fast, impressive results in the first days of using it, and that is exactly why it is dangerous. The mechanism of action of senna is a direct chemical assault on the nerve endings in the bowel wall. With repeated use, constant stimulation causes those nerve receptors to burn out. The colon simply stops responding to its own natural signals. And what follows is the most stubborn, paralytic constipation imaginable. The kind that is nearly impossible to reverse. You traded a manageable problem for a permanent one. That is the real cost of senna dependency. So, what should you eat and drink to restore healthy peristalsis? Let us start with the most overlooked cause of constipation, dehydration. Your body is extraordinarily efficient at water conservation. When food moves through your intestines, it passes through like a freight train heading for the exit. If your body is chronically short on water, it will strip every last drop it can from whatever is passing through, including your stool. The result is fecal matter that becomes dry, rock hard, and functionally impossible to move through muscular tubes. The fix starts with water. How do you know if you're drinking enough? Simple. Next time you urinate, look at the color. If it is pale yellow, almost clear, you are hydrated. If it is dark, concentrated, and has a strong odor, you are severely dehydrated, and your intestines are paying the price. When is the best time to drink? First thing in the morning, on an empty stomach. I know there is a commonly repeated concern about drinking water with meals diluting digestive juices. That concern is legitimate. Drinking heavily during or shortly after eating can impair digestion, but in the morning, your stomach is completely empty. There is nothing to dilute. You can drink freely and generously, and the temperature matters. Drink hot water, as hot as you can comfortably manage without burning yourself. Temperature is pure physical energy. When you drink cold water from a refrigerator or cooler, your body has to spend significant metabolic resources heating that liquid to body temperature before it can do anything useful. That is energy wasted. Hot water, on the other hand, immediately relaxes the smooth muscle sphincters along the digestive tract. Sphincters are the ring-shaped muscles that control the passage between sections of the gut, and it powerfully stimulates bile flow in the morning. Bile is your liver's secretion that breaks down fat and acts as a natural lubricant for the intestines. Drink slowly at your own pace. Take a few sips, put the cup down, come back to it. A minimum of half a liter of hot water in the morning is non-negotiable. Up to a full liter is even better. Without this, your body may remain in a state of chronic internal dryness all day, and that directly produces constipation. Now, for what to add, you need fiber. But I need to be extremely precise about what I mean, because the word fiber has been commercially weaponized against you. Do not go to a pharmacy and buy isolated powdered fiber in a jar or canister. Stop. That product, dried isolated cellulose fiber taken without adequate water, will absorb whatever residual moisture is in your gut and compact into an immovable mass. It does not stimulate peristalsis. The therapeutic effect is essentially zero, and it can actively make things worse. When I say fiber, I mean natural, living fiber, from fresh vegetables and above all from leafy greens, not fruit. Fruit is high in fructose, a sugar that causes significant fermentation and bloating in a compromised gut. But vegetables you can eat in large, generous portions. Fresh salads, raw vegetables, cooked greens. And critically, always add a good quality plant oil to your salads. Do not be stingy with it. Plant oils deserve your full attention when it comes to choosing them because they are easy to get wrong in ways that actively harm you. All plant oils oxidize, meaning they chemically degrade when exposed to light and oxygen. Oxidized rancid oil is toxic to your liver. The oil must be maximally fresh, unrefined, and stored correctly. The ideal is to find a local, small batch oil producer who cold presses oil and delivers it in dark glass bottles. The maximum shelf life of a real, living seed oil is 3 months. Flaxseed oil is even more fragile. It oxidizes within 1 month. Store all good oils in the door of your refrigerator, cold and dark. Use it generously on your salads. Quality plant oil has a direct clinical effect on peristalsis. It stimulates the gallbladder to contract and release bile. Your own bile is one of the most powerful natural laxatives your body produces. Normal, continuous bile secretion is one of the essential conditions of healthy digestion. Properly prepared dried fruit also has scientifically documented benefit for bowel function. Specifically, prunes, dried apricots, or apricots dried with the pit still inside. Those are called uruk, and serious practitioners of food-based medicine prefer them to pitted dried apricots because, in their whole natural state, they retain the full mineral content. But you need to choose correctly. Shiny, oily-looking prunes at a market stall have been coated with cheap industrial oil to prevent clumping and improve appearance. Avoid them. Bright orange or fluorescent yellow, dried apricots have been chemically treated. Naturally dried apricots are dark brown. You want dried fruit that is matte, slightly firm, and without any surface shine. The night before, soak a handful in a bowl of clean water. You can add raw nuts, raw sunflower seeds, or raw pumpkin seeds to the same bowl. By morning, everything has absorbed moisture and softened. It is dramatically easier to digest and chew. Eat it in a small bowl with a splash of fresh plant oil. Add it to your morning porridge. Add it to a green salad. This is a proven, gentle way to stimulate morning peristalsis without medication. But I need to be honest with you as a practicing clinician. Persistent constipation is not always just about what you eat and drink. It can reflect much deeper systemic problems. One of the most invisible and destructive is chronic stress. When you live under sustained psychological pressure, your sympathetic nervous system, the ancient fight-or-flight system, stays permanently switched on. In that state, digestion is essentially shut off. The body does not prioritize digesting food when it believes it is being chased by a predator. Stress is the most damaging, most overlooked enemy of your intestinal function. Hormonal dysfunction is another major factor, specifically an underactive thyroid gland. The thyroid is your body's internal metabolic reactor. It sets the baseline energy level for every tissue and organ. When thyroid hormone levels drop, everything slows. You feel cold, sluggish, and foggy. Your intestines become just as sluggish. Hypothyroidism, meaning low thyroid function, is a frequently missed cause of refractory constipation. And micronutrient deficiencies play a major role as well. The smooth muscle of the intestinal wall needs specific minerals and nutrients to physically contract and push food forward. When those are depleted, the muscle simply cannot do its job. There is one more anatomical factor that almost no one talks about, but I see it in clinical practice constantly. It involves the biomechanical state of the bones of your skull and cervical spine. That is your neck vertebrae. I know that sounds like a stretch. Hear me out. The nerve that directly controls the motor function of your intestines exits through a narrow opening at the very base of the skull in the occipital region, at the back of your head. It is called the vagus nerve. This is one of the longest, most important nerves in the human body. It sends branches to the heart, to the lungs, and runs all the way down to the entire intestinal tract. If there is muscular spasm or structural compression at that exit point at the base of the skull or in the deep muscles of the neck, the nerve signal is blocked. And when the vagus nerve is blocked at its origin, the intestine receives a weakened or intermittent command signal from the brain. Clinically, this can show up as unexplained episodes of heart palpitations, chronic morning cough with mucus, and very commonly, paralytic constipation. In my practice, I have witnessed something remarkable repeatedly with both adult patients and infants. When I work manually to release those structural compressions in the skull base and cervical spine, intestinal function improves immediately. With small infants seen at 1 month, 6 weeks, 2 months, or 6 months of age after difficult deliveries, we sometimes see the result right on the table during the procedure. In adult patients, we can literally hear it. The intestines begin gurgling and churning audibly the moment compression on the vagus nerve is released. The colon immediately begins to receive a strong, organized electrical signal from the brain, and it starts working better on the spot. Restoring the correct position of the skull bones and cervical vertebrae is a foundational intervention for anyone dealing with chronic constipation. The goal is not to mask the symptom. It is to restore the person as a whole system and find the root of the problem. Now, for those who have stayed with me this far, here is a practical, genuinely effective manual exercise you can do at home, tonight and every night. Think about your intestines physically. Everything we have discussed, water, leafy fiber, fresh oils, is essentially what we are pouring into a long, muscular tube. But imagine an old, dirty plastic bag with grimy, stuck-together walls. You could pour in hot water and expensive cleaning solution, but unless you physically shake it and scrub the walls with your hands, it will not come clean. The same logic applies to your colon. You can feed it the best diet in the world. Without mechanical stimulation, many patients still will not get the therapeutic effect they need. Manual massage activates dormant nerve receptors in the gut wall through a completely different mechanism than diet. It is not a supplement to diet. It is a separate and essential intervention. The technique is simple. Lie on your back in bed in the evening. Using your hands, massage your abdomen in a clockwise spiral. Always clockwise, because that is the direction of anatomical movement through the large intestine. Start gently around the navel and progressively widen your spiral outward toward the edges of the abdomen. You can use one hand or place one hand on top of the other for added weight, which lets you reach deeper into the abdominal cavity through the tissue. A third option is to use both hands moving toward each other simultaneously, one sliding smoothly under the other. To make deep movement easier without stretching the skin, apply a small amount of any plant oil to your abdomen first. Your hands will glide and you will be able to apply real depth of pressure without discomfort. As you work, you will find specific spots that feel dense, ropey, or tender. Work those areas with more attention, slower, more sustained pressure. The two most common problem zones are the lower right quadrant, where the cecum is located, that is the very beginning of the large intestine where stool accumulates first, and the lower left quadrant, where the sigmoid colon sits just before the exit. The sigmoid is where stool most often becomes compacted and hardened before elimination. If you are not carrying much abdominal fat, you may actually feel the loaded colon under your hands, a firm, sausage-like structure. Do not be alarmed by that. It is clinical information and it confirms that you are working in the right place. You can also use your knuckles. Make loose fists and rub the entire abdomen vigorously in clockwise circles until you feel deep internal warmth building in the gut. That internal heat signal means blood flow is increasing and the muscles are activating. One additional movement with real therapeutic power. Place your fingertips at the very bottom of your abdomen, just above the pelvic bones, and with firm, steady pressure, draw the tissues upward toward the diaphragm. This is a component of the manual lifting technique for the pelvic organs, which tend to descend with age and a sedentary lifestyle. With this single motion, you are simultaneously decompressing intestinal loops and restoring some of the natural positioning of the organs. Do this for a minimum of 3 to 4 minutes. If you have 15 or 20 minutes in the evening and you want to be thorough, use them. Over time, with consistent nightly practice and dietary change, the areas that are dense and tender will become progressively softer and pain-free. A completely soft, non-tender abdomen during deep palpation, meaning pressure from the fingers, is the clinical sign of a bowel that is functioning at full capacity. And do not forget what neurology calls motor visceral reflexes, the electrical cascades that travel from your musculoskeletal system directly to your internal organs. Every time you walk, exercise, or move your legs and pelvis vigorously, your muscles and ligaments send powerful activation signals to every organ in your abdominal cavity. When you are sedentary, sitting in a chair for most of the day, those signals stop and the organs go quiet, including your intestines. Regular physical movement is not optional for healthy gut function. It is mechanically required. Here's something worth knowing about age. The motility of the intestine, that is how well it moves and contracts, tends to decline significantly after the age of 40. The muscle in the gut wall gradually becomes less responsive. The nerve supply becomes less robust, and the cascading effects of decades of dietary habits accumulate. This is why constipation often becomes a persistent, worsening problem in middle age and beyond, while in younger people the same diet might produce only mild symptoms. How old are you? Drop your age in the comments. I genuinely want to understand who is watching this channel, which age groups are dealing with this most severely, and how I can tailor future content to where you actually are right now. Here is your practical takeaway. First, eliminate white flour in all forms: bread, pasta, pastries, dumplings. Eliminate white rice. Reduce meat and switch to ground or finely prepared forms. Stop it entirely during active constipation. Never use senna-based laxatives on a regular basis. They will destroy your bowel's ability to function on its own. Every morning on an empty stomach, drink a minimum of half a liter of hot water slowly. Eat generous portions of fresh, raw vegetables with quality, unrefined, fresh plant oil stored in dark glass in the refrigerator, used within 3 months. Soak prunes or whole-dried apricots overnight and eat them in the morning with seeds, nuts, and oil. Every evening, spend at least 5 minutes massaging your abdomen, clockwise in a deepening spiral. Move your body every day. Walk, exercise, do anything that gets your legs and core working. And if constipation persists despite all of this, take it seriously as a systemic signal. Consider your thyroid function, your stress load, and yes, the structural state of your skull base and cervical spine.